That Charlie Kirk memorial was the biggest piece of political propaganda I've ever seen in my entire life. The first guy who went up, his friend, he said something about the country splitting in half, and he kept saying they. He didn't specify what he was talking about. I know he's talking about the left. They are a disease. Not talking about Charlie's killer, not talking about extremists, just they are a disease. Another guy that really highly disturbed me was Stephen Miller, of course. I already knew that was going to be bad. Stephen Miller goes up and does what every single textbook authoritarian dictator does, which is, we're on the side of the divine. We're on the side of God himself. Everybody else, they're on the wrong side. They're on the side of the devil. They're not on the side of God. They're the enemy. His speech was insane. Like, I just need you guys all to go watch it because it's the most insane speech I ever heard, and I already knew it was going to be insane. He kept on saying, they're nothing, they can't do anything, they can't build anything, they can't create anything. Just demonizing the shit out of the people he doesn't like. And then you have Donald Trump come up, which of course, he talks about himself a lot. He brings up the election that was stolen, because he cannot get over that he lost. And then of course he brings up Biden. He brings up his beef with Biden at a memorial because he will never get over the fact that Biden beat him once. It will stay with him until the day that he dies. Biden will live rent free in his head forever. And then he goes, Charlie and Erica want best for the opponents. I don't. I hate my opponents. I don't want the best for them. That was our president of the United States, where our country is so divided right now. Emotions and everything are at an all-time high, and instead of wanting to bring peace, instead of wanting to be a real leader and bring peace to the table, he'd rather turn up the temperature. Why do you think that is? I'll explain this to you again. This is what dictators and authoritarians do. Charlie is a pawn in this game. And it's working because people love a martyr. But I just want to let that set in, that our president, it's more important to him that he turns the temperature up because it benefits him. Also, I thought it was interesting that MAGA and Christian were used interchangeably because politics, MAGA is the religion. That is the religion. There's no Democratic Christians, there's no leftist Christians, it's MAGA. I just want to emphasize that shit that I just saw was not normal. I also want to remind you that Donald Trump did not go to the funeral of the lawmaker in Minnesota who died. Of course he didn't. I also want to remind people that they keep on lying about the statistic that left-wing extremists are way more violent than right-wing, but yet they had to delete the study on the DOJ website because it said the opposite. Because they can't find studies to back up what they're saying, but they know their audience doesn't care. Because their audience is living in a different reality than us. And that's what makes it so horrifying. It's so horrifying. To watch how many people are going into, well, it's already here, but you know what I'm saying, into a dictatorship, authoritarianism, happily, excited.
Turning a funeral ceremony into a political rally is a disgrace. It's dishonorable to the lives you say you're celebrating. The president completely undermined Charlie's wife's message of love when he clearly stated what we all know: he hates his opponents. He is not about unity, he is about divisiveness. And to center himself in that moment, in that time that all of these people had gathered to celebrate a life, whether you agreed with that person or not, just shows that he only cares about himself. And I hope that all of his supporters were able to see that in this moment.
You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity.
This is supremacy at its finest, and it's ridiculous. Straight out of the 1940s and 1950s Third Reich in Germany. Stephen Miller, it's you that haven't created shit. You and all your MAGA racist friends have not built anything in this goddamn country. Everything that you see around you, all the buildings, all the houses, or the roads, or the corporations, everything was built by people of color, minorities, immigrants, and slaves. The White House that took 8 years from start to finish, and Barack Obama, a black man, sat on it, was built by his fucking ancestors, by slaves. The US Capitol that took over 30 years to build was built by slaves. Over 385 registered historic payments made to the owners of slaves. The Smithsonian Institute, Wall Street, fucking Harvard Law, which was founded by Isaac Royal Jr., an owner of slaves. All of it, slave labor, slave money, slave product. The University of Georgetown that was created by Jesuit priests from the sale of 272 slaves in the United States. The oldest public university in the United States, UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, built by slaves. The 19-foot bronze statue on top of the Capitol was built by Philip Reed, a slave. The Transcontinental Railway, which covers the majority of the tracks built in the United States, were touched and built by the Chinese. And when they didn't do it, guess who was? The Mexican traqueros brought from Mexico. Finished the build. You people have built nothing. For the past 700 years, everything that you possess, all the wealth, all the buildings, every single piece of infrastructure in the United States has been built by immigrants, black people, and people of color. This was not a funeral or a memorial. This, do you know what it was? A white supremacy celebration of your bullshit and your lies to embolden racist people to keep supporting you and keep following you. And you're using that racist bastard as your martyr. And we are all up to your tricks. We all can see it. My fucking God, bro. Que tengan buen día.
Hello everyone, it's Anthony here, and as usual, I'm chilling in the park. It's a nice noon. So we are in a propaganda state, and like you saw, Joseph Goebbels himself, Stephen Miller, standing on the podium, reading the Riots Act against his political opponent. So Chelikak to some was a nice man who used to debate students. These are freshmen. He used to debate students and to some extent maybe engage in national dialogues. So when after the shooting incident, Trump decided to turn him into a martyr for the MAGA cause. And you saw the funeral. They tried to make it a left versus right issue as much as possible, which is very bad. Not a president of the United States taking sides in this whole circus. And you literally even saw some MAGA supporters in the last weeks. They wanted a civil war. They wanted a civil war. Some MAGA supporters, they wanted a civil war for this. Because of the death of one man. Maybe he was a good man to them. And we have had massive school shootings happenings around the country. Yes, these pro-life MAGA supporters, they don't care about the life of the children who are being downed every week in our schools. They don't care about that. They don't care. They don't want a civil war because of that. They want only a civil war because one man who was who supported their ideologies to some extent is downed. Is when now they want to retaliate.
Okay, so this is wild. Some Disney stars, like the ones we grew up watching, are boycotting their own premieres. They're just not coming, not walking the red carpet, nothing. And I think that sends a pretty big message. I hope that has the impact as intended. Millions of people are unsubscribing from their Disney Plus plans and boycotting all things Disney. I hope this sends the message as intended, because we are not going to take this kind of silencing. We are not going to take this kind of censorship. It's been incredible to see how many people are standing behind Jimmy Kimmel. And honestly, I think it takes a lot to stand up and say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to stand up for what's right, and I'm not just going to go to my own premiere. I hope more stars follow suit.
Donald Trump's worst nightmare just came true, as Jimmy Kimmel is back and his first guest is amazing. Now, as you know, Jimmy Kimmel was just suspended by ABC after the FCC pressured ABC and basically gave them an ultimatum to do something or they will. Well, now ABC has changed their mind and lifted the suspension, and Jimmy Kimmel is back tomorrow. And his first guest is none other than California Governor Newsom. Yes, that's how this is going to go down, and it's tomorrow, and Donald Trump is going to flip out. First off, all of MAGA is already losing their minds on social media. They can't believe that this is happening right now. But this shows the power we actually have. Make no mistake, ABC is responding to all of the protests, all the cancellations, all the subscription cancellations, the lack of people going to Disney. This is the power that we have. And now our reward is we get to see Donald Trump have a complete meltdown on social media tonight.
Oh my God, you're Canadian. Why do you even care about American politics? Let me let you in on a little secret. Every time America farts, it gets huffed right up our fucking nose. Every piece of unhinged conservative policy or rhetoric that comes out of the United States plants little seeds of ideas in the minds of Canadian conservatives, and then we have to deal with it. America routinely and regularly exerts pressure over Canada to play ball with what it wants, which isn't always good for us. In a lot of instances, it isn't. And America being a global hegemonic power, it does this all over the world, sometimes, often, a lot more forcefully. For decades, America has either directly or indirectly facilitated regime changes around the world by force, simply because those regime changes were to the benefit of the United States and capitalism in general. So yeah, I'm not American, but I care about American politics, not because I want to, but because I have to.
Oh, no. I'm not putting the blame on the voters. I'm specifically blaming you guys, the never Kamala leftists, who to this day still act like campaigning against Kamala Harris was the right decision. Now, I'm not saying that y'all are the reason that she lost. There's a plethora of reasons that she lost. I am saying that you all played a part in why she lost, because you were actively campaigning against her, which helped Donald Trump win. You can say that you were campaigning against both parties because both parties are evil, both parties are right-wing, both are bad. And that may well be true. But we live in a two-party system. There were two viable candidates for the 2024 election. Jill Stein was never going to win. Cornel West was never going to win, as much as I wish he had. Cornel West was never going to win. There were literally two possible candidates in the 2024 election that were going to win. And by choosing to campaign against one of them, Kamala Harris, you were actively helping the other one win, Donald Trump, by stripping away votes from Kamala Harris. That is the reality of our political system. And so many of y'all refuse to acknowledge this and instead give me bullshit like this. Like, oh, you're blaming the voters every time I give y'all some criticism. I'm not blaming regular and everyday voters who are not connected to politics. I actually don't blame people who are not living in the political world and don't really fully know what's going on and had a hard time distinguishing all the propaganda that was floating around during the 2024 election, because the Trump campaign was putting out a lot of propaganda during the 2024 election. You all, ostensibly, were aware of the stakes of the 2024 election. We're aware of the fact that Donald Trump had a literal playbook that said, hey, here is my authoritarian agenda that I'm going to institute. Please vote for me. And then you decided, yeah, the best idea is to campaign against the other person, is to campaign saying that Kamala Harris is the worst candidate of the two. The reason I put some of the blame on y'all and the reason I criticize y'all specifically is because you refuse to acknowledge how you helped get Donald Trump elected. The same people who voted for Trump because they thought that he was better economically have now realized they made the mistake, and they are acknowledging that they made a mistake, that voting for him was the wrong decision, and are campaigning against him now, or saying that he should not be elected and that he should not be president. Y'all refuse to acknowledge your own mistake and how you contributed to his election in 2024. And that's why I'm specifically criticizing you, and that's why I'm blaming you. Not everyday Americans, not everyday voters, you guys, the people who love to talk about how you're so learned and you're very aware of politics and you know what's going on, and then still fell for the exact same Republican propaganda in 2024 to convince you that the Democratic candidate was the worst candidate of the two of them. I don't blame regular Americans. I blame people who know what is going on and are aware and could not get out of their own ego and hold their nose and go vote for the candidate that was not actively saying, here is my authoritarian agenda that I'm going to institute. That is why I put so much blame on y'all specifically, and that is why I criticize y'all so much, because you don't live in the fucking real world. You want to live in the world where you are morally superior to everybody and refuse to acknowledge how you specifically, fucked up by campaigning against Kamala Harris and are part of the reason we are in the situation we are in today.
We have some major news right now. Get ready for some big changes coming to TikTok, as Donald Trump is expected to sign the TikTok deal with China as soon as this week. And one big thing to note from Caroline Leavitt's press conference today, Oracle will be responsible for essentially retraining the TikTok algorithm here in the United States of America. We knew before that Oracle would be responsible for retaining and controlling US user data, but TikTok's existing algorithm will be leased from ByteDance to this American company that will then retrain the algorithm, whatever that means. So users in the United States can still use TikTok. Now, we will still be able to see videos from foreigners, and foreigners will still be able to see videos coming out of the United States. But the algorithm here in the United States will be controlled by Oracle and then this board of directors, 6 of whom will be Americans, including potentially the owners of Fox News. So spread the word, because this is big. Full breakdown on my Substack coming soon, linked in bio, so subscribe for free. As always, follow along, stay updated on all the news you need to know about.
Breaking news, the U.S. is giving Palantir, an Israeli AI surveillance company, $250 billion to track Americans. What this system does is it compiles all of your social media data, likes, activity, posts, comments, reposts, DMs, and it builds a database on you to detect if you're going to commit a crime. The founder of this is Alex Karp, an Israeli citizen who has called Netanyahu his, quote, close friend. And look, we all remember the one big beautiful bill earlier in the year. Well, I did some digging, and in that digging, over the next 10 years, Palantir is implementing their system in the United States, and the United States is paying them $250 billion. The U.S. will be allocating $25 billion a year to this Israeli company, while also giving them their usual $6 billion off to the side. How do you feel as a taxpayer paying the Israeli company $250 billion to spy on you?
Thank you for watching this video to the end. It's Anthony here, and as usual, I'm chilling in the park. So it's nice compiling these clips and making this message clear to fellow Americans on what is going on in our country. Because here I compile lots of different Americans and then we try to analyze them for ourselves, or maybe you can listen to me as I analyze them. So Trump is trying to set a national dialogue which he himself controls. A national dialogue which he is the center. A national dialogue which he is the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Right? He is trying to control the media. True. He is trying to control the narrative of this country. He is trying to control the topics you can discuss and which you can't. A great breach to our First Amendment, the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech. That's what he is trying to go into. And if you literally, if most of the times you listen to me, I usually say dictators hate truth, dictators hate to be talked about, dictators hate to be talked down to, right? What Trump is doing, we must call it bad, and it's bad for our country. Free speech is what has led to the rise of the greatest nations we have on the earth today. And if it is under attack, it is very bad. That means our empire is at decline. It means that we cannot discuss freely, independently, and without fear of retaliation of the real issues affecting Americans. Without being called a liberal lunatic, without being told you have a mental issue, without being fired from your work, without being cancelled. It's very bad at the moment. It's very bad what's happening in this country. It's very bad. It's unacceptable. So, until the next video, adios.